Hi, this is Steve again. Welcome to part 2 of my MILFAC series, the State of Mille Lacs Fishery. I'll move on to the walleye population estimates. As you can see there, the DNR sets 32 nets in 132,516 acres of lake. Your reaction may be the same as mine. I think that's definitely undersampling, but that's what they do, and they've done it for 40 years that way. Unfortunately, for the last 15 years, those same tools have been implemented into our new management system, which requires spot-on accuracy. And unfortunately, the tools that were developed, which are the netting assessments, weren't developed for specific science. They were basically brought in for the health of the fishery, to see what year classes you have, how many, and give you a good estimate on how many fish are in the lake. And health of year classes. Back in the 70s, it was done once every 5 years. In the 80s, it started to do it annually. So it's an old system. Unfortunately, it's the best they have, and double unfortunately, it fits into the health of a fishery, not the exact science of a fishery. So we suffer by that. What's figured out in those is what's called walleye biomass. Walleye biomass is basically mature walleyes that are 14 inches and larger. Sexually mature walleyes, that's what they consider in the biomass weight. So the state of the fishery right now as it sits, they're estimating 1.2 million pounds of biomass, which is sexually mature large fish. But in that 1.2 million pounds that they claim is in the lake right now, they're not factoring in the 2013 year class, which is just now breaking into the 15-inch mark. It's estimated that there's 600,000 plus of those fish that could weigh upwards of 1 million pounds or more, which puts us well over 2 million pounds, which is actually the average biomass that's been in Mille Lacs Lake. Now, if you've been paying attention to what's been happening this summer, the fishing, including last winter, the fishing has been fantastic. We have a good forage base right now. We have a lot of bait fish swimming around, and yet we still have walleyes biting. There's usually two reasons that walleyes bite. One is that there's too many walleyes, and the other is that there's not enough to eat. Well, the DNR claims that there aren't enough walleyes, and we're seeing a ton of bait fish. You can't have it either way, so it's going to be one or the other. Under our management system, I have what's called the death by quota rule, and that's the harvestable surplus. Harvestable surplus is defined as the complete amount of biomass in the lake, and they take a certain amount of that, which has historically been 24%, and that's your harvest. That's how much is safely okay to take out of the lake on any given year. They've now slashed that to about 2%. Natural mortality on walleyes is actually over 10%. So I don't, in my opinion, believe that that limit was set on science-based. I think it was a panic quota. But unfortunately, the quota that's set in the fisheries technical meetings that the DNR and GLFWC, Great Lakes Indian Fisheries Wildlife Council, has is done behind closed doors. There is no transcript. The biologists meet, they decide what it's going to be, and they throw the rule and the quota out the door, and the DNR accepts it. That's what we deal with, and then the local area and all the Minnesota anglers and the tribes can't go back on anything. I mean, it is what it is, and if they're wrong, so be it. We can't change anything. So there's different effects that are happening on Mille Lacs Lake, or different things that are happening that I'm seeing. And one I call a displacement theory. It's where I think, you know what, we're going to come back to this. We'll go on to part 3. We'll start with my displacement theory, and join me for part 3.